Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to iteach Live. This is our 30th interview in the past 6 weeks, and so we've been excited to have educators and administrators join us over the past month and a half to discuss the teaching profession. And so we will end our regular iteach Live today with speaking with teacher Jolene Castanon. How are you doing this morning, Jolene?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much, Andrew.
Yeah, it's good to see you. I hope everything's well. You're officially on summer break, I hope.
Yes, officially.
Okay. When was the actual last day of school for your school?
The 24th.
Okay.
Yeah,
So you're kind of settling in now to a summer routine.
definitely. Even though it's felt like it's been summer routine for the past 2 months. It's been crazy.
I was about to say we had whatever the last holiday was. I think it's Memorial Day or Labor Day. I get them confused. But it was we had our office was officially closed, and I was like, this is the exact same it's been for the past 5 weeks.
Yep.
It's kind
Absolutely nothing.
Yeah, different paradigm with COVID-19. So, Jolene, we're going to jump into and get into COVID-19, your experience teaching during that, and hear what you're teaching in the classroom and your teaching experience in general. But before I start there, I want to rewind and hear about how you even chose the teaching profession as your career.
Yeah, no problem. So I have a large family, and a lot of them are teachers. My mom worked in a child development center when I was growing up. I have aunts, uncles, cousins who are teachers. My grandpa worked in a school that's just kind of ran in the family. And so they've all explained how amazing and rewarding it is to affect and influence students in a positive way. And so they've been elbowing me, pushing me in this direction for a while. And it kind of just fell into place. And they're right, 100% rewarding and amazing. It's been great.
So what are you teaching? Tell me about what you teach with the school you teach at, kind of the socioeconomics. Give some context to your class.
Okay, so I'm an elementary art teacher. I teach kinder through 5th grade. I see about 550 kids a week.
Oh, wow.
I see them all once a week. I teach in South Dallas. It's about half an hour from where I live. I live in North Dallas in Carrollton, but I teach in DeSoto. And the kids are really, really great. They're very interested, engaging, and it wasn't always like that. And sometimes it's not always like that. We all go through moods and different things happen, but yeah, that's about it.
Jolene, out of all the conversations, I think you take the top in amount of students and frequency. That's unique about seeing them once a week. And I'm sure there's some challenges and benefits to seeing them once a week. And so you mentioned you teach art kindergarten through 5th grade. How
Right.
did you come to determine that you wanted to be with that age group? Was that by happenstance, or did you get exposed to high school? How did you choose the younger kids?
So my background with teaching, I did a summer camp 2 summers in a row in Connecticut. It was an art camp. It was really cool. Those kids are mostly teenagers. I also substituted before I was a teacher, and I subbed for elementary as well as middle school. I knew I didn't really want to do middle school. And I think elementary, I just felt like it would be a good way to experience the students as they grow and as they're really engaging with materials and with ideas, and they really have no limit to their imagination. I think that was really inspiring to kind of see how and where their ideas come from, because
Yeah.
it's weird stuff.
I have a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old, 2 sons, and I get to see, I think, the greatest insight to their brain is when we're doing art activities together. And so it totally resonates with what you're saying. If I have them read a book or do math, I can understand if they know that. But when they start drawing something or creating something, like this morning, in fact, my 3-year-old came down from bed and he had already built a Lego for the morning. It was already on top of it. And he said it was a rocket ship. In my mind, it did not look like a rocket ship, but his little creative mind figured that that's what that was. And it was going to be a rocket ship all morning long today. So it's super interesting to see how art can bring that out of little kids.
Oh, it's amazing. It's great to see that and not kind of try and give them as much freedom as possible when it comes to that. You don't really want to completely structure their ideas. You like the way I teach, at least, I like to give it be open-ended and let them kind of decide how things are going to play out. I'll give them, you know, some instructions, some examples, and then kind of just let them go for it. And it's just, and they're just waiting for the go for it part. They don't care about anything else. They just want to, you know, get in there. And so that's cool.
And so do you have the opportunity to use different mediums of art throughout the year, or how does that work in your classroom?
Yeah. So, let's see. So cardboard is in abundance. It's like the cheapest of materials. So I like hoard cardboard from my whole school. And at the end of the year, I usually take away all the chairs, push all the tables together, and just have cardboard everywhere. So the kids just get like scissors and glue, and they can make anything that they could possibly dream of, you
That's
know.
awesome.
It's just kind of sky's the limit with that. So I really like cardboard as material. We definitely have drawing and painting. We paint a lot. My background isn't in drawing and painting, so I try and keep it more three-dimensional, since that's what my experience is with. And so I try and get them more hands-on and sculptural and do different things, and just kind of get them to play with materials, even if it's things they've never experienced. Like, I just try to get them to see everything as a material, because it's everywhere. Materials are everywhere. They can make something out of anything if they
Yeah.
just open their mind.
Yeah, that's awesome. You bring that perspective and empowering to those little minds. So tell me about your first year and first days of school. How's that transition from you coming into the classroom? Well, first of all, let me back up. Did you come straight from college into the classroom, or did you actually have, were you working outside in industry and then came to the classroom? That might help provide context.
I didn't go into teaching until I guess it was 3 years after college. I'm from New Mexico. I graduated from New Mexico State in southern New Mexico. I was there until about 2016, and then I moved out here. When I got here, that's when I started subbing. I did after school programs. I have another family member who's in HR in the school district in North Dallas, so she kind of brought me in there. And so it was a while after school, excuse me.
Yeah.
And yes. And then what was the other part of your question?
Well,
I'm
so
sorry.
having worked outside of after college, what was that transition like into a classroom? How is it different than your normal job? And what was the initial challenges entering the classroom?
Oh yeah. So my first year was you know, interesting, for lack of a better word. So I started maybe 2 weeks after the school year started. They had a substitute for 2 weeks who was just giving them paper and having them watch videos. So when I got there, it was very different, because I didn't know what to expect. They just wanted to watch movies and draw, and so it was different. I've never really been in charge of 25 to 28 kids at a time, and just to see like 6 classes a day. So it was just to get into the routine of making a routine was hard. And
Yeah.
then the kids didn't know me. I didn't know them. You have to start off cold turkey, no relationship. Like, it was so hard. It was so difficult. Every day was a challenge, but every day also you required problem solving. And, you know, a lot of my projects failed, but I've learned so much from them. And then some of them didn't fail, and we still do them today, or I've elaborated, or I brought the kids and we just talk about what we're doing and how they feel about what they're making. And I have noticed, though, that a lot of the times, if I'm not excited about what we're doing, they won't be excited about what
Yeah.
we're doing either.
Yeah.
So they can kind of feel my energy. And so the first year, my energy was crazy, because I didn't know what I was doing,
Yeah.
and I didn't know how to do it. And they picked up on that too. And so it was hard to communicate with kids, learn how to communicate with them, learn how to communicate with their parents, administration, you know, develop having a support system as far as your peers. It's like all of it is very difficult. But I think that's what makes it so good too, because you work through these and you're developing and you're growing. And so you have to just, you know, keep going. You can't let it get to you. It's not supposed to be taken personal. It's just you're learning, and it's hard, but don't stop.
Yeah. I mean, you're speaking, I think, a lot of truth to teachers out there who are probably giving you a lot of amens, and new teachers, just giving them kind of heads up. I'm really curious. you said you started 2 weeks after the school year started, and that is a unique challenge, but it happens to a lot of teachers where they just don't, the school doesn't know exactly where the student needs are going to be. There might be late retirements. There's a lot of reasons why a new full-time teacher comes in late. And so we've heard that a couple times. I would love to know those 2 weeks that you missed, how did that inform the next school year? Like, what did you know, like going into your second year, like, you know what? I missed this first 2 weeks. I'm not missing it this time. What are some of those things that you felt like from day one you needed to get in place?
So it's all about rules and regulations at my school. So the first 2 weeks are your just procedures and routines, and you're establishing your procedures and routines. So it's very detrimental to the beginning. Just like the way that I started my second year, we did a community circle where we all just sit on the floor and talk. We introduce ourselves. We kind of talk about the summer, and then I tell them what my expectations are for them and the projects we're going to do, and I kind of get them excited that way also. But it's really about establishing how they come into the classroom, where they're going to sit, how I decide where they're going to sit, who I am, and just kind of, just like starting off our relationship, starting off this thing that will develop into, for them to feel safe and comfortable and able to feel those things in my classroom and with me. And so I think it's very important to start off strong, but also loving, like I had some weird advice telling me not to smile. Don't let them see you. It's weakness, but that's not true. You have to like show them that you're here too, and you
Yeah.
make mistakes, and there's nothing wrong with admitting you make mistakes. They need to know that you're not just trying to tell them things, that you're there to talk to them about things. And
Yeah.
so I
Yeah.
think that those first 2 weeks are very important, and they definitely switch things up the second year.
Yeah. I'm curious. I've talked to a lot of teachers like in the core contents of English and math, even at the lower levels. And there's been a recurring theme of how do you find what motivates them and how do you relate to their level and what they're doing in their life? Do you find the same challenges in terms of relation and motivation, or how does that play out in your art class when you have kids of obviously such a young age? How do you motivate them, or do you have to find out what they're excited about? Tell me about that.
Okay, so in my classroom set up a little differently, even compared to the other specials classes that are in my school. The kids are supposed to sit still, the kids are supposed to not talk, they're supposed to listen 100% of the time. And so it's very hard. I can't have them sitting in one position in my classroom. It doesn't even work like that.
Right.
So I think that motivating them is just giving them, some grace as far as, okay, so you'll listen to me for the first 15 minutes about what we're going to do and how this day is going to go. And then from then, you can talk it amongst yourselves at your table. You guys can move around. You don't have to sit down. You can stand up, kind of get comfortable and get, situated, because it's going to be 55 minutes where we're going to make some cool stuff.
Yeah.
And so I think that giving them the freedom to talk, giving them the freedom to move around, giving them the freedom to not have to just plant themselves helps motivate them, because they don't feel like they're just, like dramatic. They're all dramatic, but they don't feel like they have to just stay in one spot and they can't do something. I want them to be comfortable, because it's so hard to make art if you have to sit still in like this rigid pose. You need to
Sure.
feel like you can just have that energy flowing. And so I think that's one thing that I've seen in my classroom. As far as their interests go, like I said, I do community circles. We talk about things. We talk about what we like. We talk about, a lot of them are into like the video games, so they talk about Fortnite and stuff. So I know that we know things. I mean, they talk a lot too. Once you let them talk, they don't stop talking. You just have to keep it at the level that you want it at.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think that their interests, they're not afraid to share their interests. You just have to be willing to listen to them and kind of develop your stuff around there, your lessons and your instruction around those things.
Yeah, that's, I think, good wisdom. So you said you had 550 kids a week, and are they across all grade levels, or you just have one grade?
No, kinder through fifth grade. So every day it's a little different, because I only have 3 kinder classes, 3 first grade classes, but then I have 4 second, 4 third, 4 fourth, and 4 fifth. So I see my let's see. So like I'll have 2 days of the week where I have 6 classes and 2 days where I have 5. I guess that's roughly. And then Wednesdays are a little different.
That is a crazy schedule. So you have, it sounds like 5 different preps. Is that right? Or 6 different preps?
Yeah. Yeah. The prepping is like 5 minutes. Oh my gosh, it's crazy. And the materials. So there's challenges. Every day is a challenge. And every day it takes so much time to prepare for each class. So much time. Especially, and that's another way I have success in my classroom is by taking the time to prepare all of the materials, all of like being mentally prepared for what I'm about to tell them. And it changes from class to class. If I have kinder to, and then my next class is 5th grade, you know, obviously they're not doing the same thing. So I have to get different materials out. I have to get, you know, different instructions in my mind ready to come out and get ready to explain everything. So it's really important for you as the teacher to be prepared. And if you're not, and if you fumble and they pick up on it, it kind of just gets out of hand easily.
Yeah.
So you just have to, preparation is very important. It's crazy.
How actually you find the time to prepare?
So I only have 5 minutes in between classes. I have a planning period, but that's usually for decompression, not necessarily, unless we're behind. Then every minute I get, then I'll just, you know, move materials around and make sure my class is set up.
Yeah.
Like when I was talking about removing all the chairs, like some classes will have chairs, some classes won't. So I'll have to like figure that out. I tend, and this is just something I've chosen personally to do, I tend to get to school about an hour earlier than necessary. Since I live so far, I live in North Dallas and I teach in South Dallas. So I drive all the way through Dallas every day. And so that's about a half an hour drive, 45 minutes. And then I just get there. I use the time to set my classroom up, pull out all my materials, not necessarily set them in my classroom, but have them in places where I know they're going to be. Redo my boards, make sure that happens. Just kind of mentally prepare and get everything situated. Because once it starts, you know, I don't have a break from probably about 7:30 to 10 or 11, and then my next group, and then lunch and all that. Lunch is crazy in itself, but so just kind of and I don't have kids or anything, so it's easier for me. Since I don't have other things to pull me from it, I can just focus. And that's where I've chosen to put my time is in the mornings, going earlier, just before everyone else gets there, so I can kind of get my space, my head space and my classroom space ready for the day.
Yeah, well, I think all that extra prep certainly makes for a greater engaged classroom. So I think I would imagine you find it valuable. I would affirm the extra effort being helpful. I can also say, I think you have a fan online with us tonight. Do you know Natalia Davis?
Yes, that's my Spanish teacher.
She says you're the best at prepping. So
she's helped. I've definitely had her cut out cardboard characters in during her prep period, just so she can help me. I put everyone to work.
Well, I think teachers is all about being part of a team.
Yes, you're right. Sorry, I dropped you. I'm sorry.
No, we're good. Yeah, I thought we just lost you.
No, that was my fault.
So kind of building on to kind of what you talked about, I'd love to get maybe more deep into your motivation. When a lot of kids, we classify them as STEM or art, maybe they like math, maybe they like art.
Sorry.
It's totally fine. How do you motivate? What's your intrinsic motivation to energize them about art? Why is that important to you as a teacher that kids learn art? What's like your mindset going into the art class?
So art is so important. It is so important. I cannot stress how important it is. I find that I want to help the students find a voice, expressing themselves and their emotions and their feelings. Our job as teachers is to help them regulate their emotions. They don't know how to yet. And so it's very important that we help them get there. And I feel like art is so important in that journey. I think it gives students a an alternative to talking about their feelings. They're actually creating something that expresses them. It's visual, and they're like putting something of themselves into their work also. It's not just talking. Talking's important. Communication is so important, but it's a different way to communicate. And so I feel like it's a part of my job to help them get there, help them realize that you can use art when you're sad, when you're angry, when you're so happy and excited, when you're frustrated or confused. And I think that it's important for them to realize that it's so powerful. It's so powerful. And once they understand that, and once they can express themselves through it, that they can, do anything. And it'll help them in other classes too. It's not just draw me a picture of how you feel today. It's, talk about how you feel, explain to me how you feel in a different way. And so they can use those skills in their other classes. And then art is all about problem solving. And so it's also giving them these skills that they need in day-to-day life. It's not just draw me a picture of how you feel. It's, how did you get there? What was your process? Explain to me how you made this. What was your favorite part of making this? Like, they need those skills. Even just explaining how they're feeling, or how they were able to understand how they were feeling. Like, art ties into so many things. And I think that I want them to see that, and I want to teach them how to get there, or how to, open that door so that nothing can close it. Like, they can just color the world.
Yeah. I mean, obviously your passion comes through, and I think you made some really valid points about the importance of art in elementary, but even art more generally. I think the arts are invaluable to our culture. I have a lot of questions, and I know we're limited on time. So before I jump in, I just want to let everyone on Facebook who's watching know that our comments are open. If you have a question for Jolene, we can certainly take those, and if we have time, try to ask Jolene those questions. So Jolene, teaching at iteach, we certainly impart this, but there's this process of continual reflection of you as a teacher, how to get better, how to be more engaged. And you've talked a lot about how you've learned and implemented new things. But I'm really curious about what are your goals for your students, and how do you measure those goals are being achieved? When you start the school year, what's your hope for the students, and is there any way to know if that's come to fruition?
So my goal for the students is to help them. It's very broad. It's just to help them, feel comfortable on their creative journey, and to get them more comfortable expressing themselves creatively. And so definitely I can see it. I try not to measure it, but I can definitely see it, and I could talk to the kids about it, and we can have discussions about it, and they can see it too. So we have a giant art show at the end of the school, and so I keep all of their artwork. So they are able to see their progress visually, from like the first thing they made in my classroom to the last thing, and they can tell you and talk about what they did, why they did it, why we made these things in the first place, and it's just really cool. So once you are able to get them talking about it, you can gauge where they are. And I think at first, everyone just goes in thinking they're just going to just draw a bunch of things, which is, yeah, totally, we do that too, but it's not all we're going to do. And we're going to definitely spend some of our time talking about ourselves and what we like and what we enjoy, and not just drawing, just random things. So I think that the way that they grow throughout the year is so important. I can see how they grow, and then just getting them to realize that they have grown, and kind of for them to know that they've grown is also a goal, I think.
Yeah,
that made sense.
Yeah, and absolutely. You brought up something, and my curiosity is piqued. You have 550 kids, you keep all their art, and then you put on an art show. How do you manage that? Do you have a massive closet? What actual?
I have a big closet, but no. So this year, actually, I had my uncle fashion me extra furniture for all of this art that I keep. It's crazy. And definitely in this year, it was the worst mistake in the world. I still have all their artwork. I can't give it to them until next year. It's so sad. And it was all such amazing work this year, so we didn't get to put on our art show. Very sad also.
Yeah, that is sad.
No, yeah, a big closet. Probably that.
I was just wondering if there's other art teachers listening to this, or maybe people who want to be art teachers, just thinking about the different intricacies of teaching. You have preps, you have grading, obviously, you have the actual lessons, but even you as an art teacher have like a management issue with trying to keep track of all this. I can only imagine trying to curate it all for a final show. Um, I hope anyone watching this knows that even art teachers or any other teacher, their workload is substantial. It's
Oh
not
yeah,
8 to 3:30 and they're out. There's a lot of
never.
work and love to do that.
But also it's like I choose this, I think, and I think a lot of my team have tried to tell me to choose a different way of doing things. But I think it's important that the kids see their work up and they see everyone else's work up. And I think that it's not just pick 15 items out and display it. It's all of these kids are artists. All of them made amazing things and they will all be showcased. And that's my mentality.
That's awesome. You have students year over year. Is that correct? You get to have students the next year. Do you get to see them progress through?
Yeah. So I've only been a teacher 3 years, but I've seen my kindergartners. They're going to be third graders this year. So that's going to be interesting.
Well, what a unique opportunity you have to actually see the benefit of your teaching, but also see the growth with other teachers and classes. A lot of teachers, when you have a student for 1 year, especially in like a transition year, like 8th grade, and they're moving to a 9th grade campus, you get them for that 1 year and hopefully you see them and keep track of them. But that's sometimes challenging. You get the real cool benefit to kind of grow up with them through those younger years.
Oh, definitely. And I think that that also helps our relationships, and that helps, the next year being more successful is, staying with the kids and staying with the school. And I find that that's one thing that I wanted. I wanted to develop myself in my school. I didn't just want to give it a couple years and then move on. I thought it was very
Yeah.
important for me to develop and also to see and experience the kids developing also.
Yeah, that is very cool. Does that, you having the benefit to see kids year over year, does that change your relationship with other teachers? I'm just curious to know, like, if teachers lean on you to measure growth that they might not see year over year, or is there any difference in that?
I don't, not necessarily. I think that we definitely talk about the progress that students make, and we're able to kind of talk about that. I don't think they come to me specifically for it.
Sure.
Again, it's only been 3 years, so I'm not necessarily one of the more the teachers who have been there longer.
Yeah.
It's really cool though to develop with the teachers also. I invite the teachers into my classroom too. I've only had maybe 2 take me up on it, where they come and do the art projects with their students, and I think that's really cool too though.
Yeah. Let's encourage more teachers to do that. I think that'd be really fun for those teachers to see the art side of all their students as well.
Yeah.
So, Jolene, I appreciate 30 minutes. It went by way too fast. I have a list of questions that I didn't get to. And so that's on me. But I was curious about your teaching. I appreciate you sharing that with us today. The way I've been ending all these interviews for 6 weeks now is just to turn the mic back over to you. If you could provide advice or encouragement for anyone starting teaching this fall, what would you tell them?
So I've been thinking about it, and I think it's really important to understand that that don't take anything the kids say or do personally. They're not trying to attack you, and they're not trying to hurt you. They don't, like I said, we're teaching them how to regulate their emotions. They don't know how to yet. They don't know how to, express how they feel, and you don't know what they've been through either. You don't know if they've slept all the way through the night. You don't know if they've eaten that morning. You don't know what they've experienced.
Yeah.
And so just kind of give them grace. Sorry. Give them grace and be patient, and give yourself grace too. I made so many mistakes and I'm still making mistakes, but learn from them and make sure that you take them into consideration, and you grow, and because you'll do better. Every day you can do better. Every day will be better. And it's really cool. It's really rewarding. Don't give up. Don't give up. Yeah.
Jolene, I think that's good advice and encouragement. I thank you so much for your time. I know you're heading back out west, and so drive safe today and enjoy New Mexico.
Yeah, thank you. We're very excited to go.
Yeah, have a great day.
It's been a great interview. Thank you so much, Andy.
Yeah, of course.